Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. BGG here, bringing you the Dinar Updates Roundtable call for Tuesday, January 31st, the very last day of the month. We are, just so happens it worked out that way. We didn't really plan it that way. I appreciate everyone who is tuned in tonight, everybody who is going to listen to the recording, everybody who is on here with us. And before I get going, I want to make sure I say some special thank yous to all of our chat copiers, our moderators, our info people, the people that dig information up, share it freely every day, all the personalities that stop by Dinar Updates on a regular basis, say hello. Thank you to all those people. We also want to say thank you to Dinar Recaps, Dinar IQD calls, anybody else who's posted or advertised a call for us. Thank you, guys. We appreciate that. We appreciate the exposure and helping us get the good word out. By the way, just so everybody knows, we don't always see eye to eye with some of the different sites, but Ken was fantastic. He made a nice contribution to the Robert Cook Memorial Fund. So, say what you will, but the guy stepped up along with everybody else in the community. Very nice of him to do that. It was a generous gift. So, thank you, Ken. Thank you, Dinar Updates. Appreciate you guys for that. I think I'll kick this. It's going to be a roundtable call tonight. I'm trying to get everybody in. Don't know how it's going to work. There's a bunch of people on here. We got myself, Mr. White, Loop, One Bobby, Mad Scout. We got AB Newsflash. Who am I missing? Somebody? Nobody? Is that it for tonight? That's it for tonight. Got a bunch of guys on here with us. It's going to be a roundtable format. We're just going to, talk about an article, toss it out there, give everybody a chance to chew on it. And I think I will start this off this evening. News cycle. And in fact, you know what? This is exactly the article I want to start with. It's not the article I want to start with. I'm going to do two quick things. There was Denarian 1 made a great meme for my chicken or the egg story the other night. Hilarious. If you haven't read it, I've left it on the blog one more time. It was titled "Shocking Excerpts from News Time last night," and I think that was Sunday night's News Time excerpt at this point. But Denarian 1 made a fantastic little meme there. Funny as I'll get out. As soon as they posted it, I put it up on the blog. You guys will really enjoy that. And by the way, that was all real. That was true. That did happen exactly the way I put it down there. And next time I do a Facebook Live, I'm going to show you the actual weapon of mass destruction that caused all the mayhem that night. I'm going to bring it out, and I'm going to not tase myself on camera or anything, but I will show you what it was, and you'll know what I'm talking about. In fact, hang on, watch it. Hang on, here we go. Hear that? Cat just went flying.
That's just wrong.
It's just wrong. Well, it scares everybody to death. And you know what? I can't believe I had that thing sitting in the back position when it was sitting right there again. Picked it up. We need to super glue that thing so it can't even do that anymore.
You're dynamite.
Okay. Yeah, that thing is crazy. The article that I was going to cover was the article that Mr. White found titled "A Source Reveals for Tomorrow's Press," which is that's the news agency. A source reveals for Tomorrow's Press about the size of the cash reserve at the central bank. Fantastic article. Goes down to the last paragraph, and it said the source pointed out that the Iraqi dinar is still safe despite the decrease in the reserve, and is expected to return to its former glory after the end of the war on Daesh, which is ISIS. Loops had a little comment there that was brought in by into News Time last night by Mr. White. Great find, Loop. Signed, Loop. And then there was yesterday there was some commentary by Holly One has an interpreter that she worked with, has several very good Iraqi contacts. She asked him to interpret from the original article. There were some people that didn't like the interpretation or the translation, whatever. The point is this. One Iraqi guy's interpretation or viewpoint on a particular article does not make, it's not the end of the world. We really appreciate everybody bringing in whatever they have, and, Holly One brings in some gold. And I think that was a very good perspective. I really don't think returning to its former glory is moving back to 1,200 to 1. That is not what that means. That's more like, and I doubt that it ever moves back to its former glory, Saddam era. I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they're just talking about its former strength in the world of currencies. Some strengthened place, and more than likely has something to do. I've said personally, my opinion is that the opinion that I've been formulating over the last few months, 6 months or so, it appears like the world, powers, the people that are going to have to support this thing. I mean, CBI can, as Mr. White said, CBI owns a currency. They can put whatever value on it they want. But who are you going to sell it to? You've got to have international support for the international community to be willing to take that. And I think that is the leverage that they are using. And they have, appears to me that they have put some kind of a price tag on Mosul and driving ISIS out of Iraq and retaking their, and acting like normal people instead of dinglings. That's my take on it. That was the article. I wanted to start that out. And what do you guys think? What do you think of that?
Hey, okay, can I comment?
You may. That's what a roundtable is for.
Well, okay. I guess I get at the head of the roundtable here. But no, how could anybody equate 1,200 to 1 under a program rate, I don't even call it a rate, under a buy-sell value that is set up between the GOI and the CBI in exchange of petrodollars for IQD as glory?
Well, I would say this. It looks like to me the guy interpreted it as some previous value. And the most previous value, the most recent, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think 1,200 to 1, 1166 to 1 is any kind of a former glory. It has nothing to do with it. He just looked at, he took a very narrow opinion of the matter and just looked at the most previous value. The most previous value, what is it right now? Does anybody know what it is, 1226 or?
Last week was what, 1205? No, yeah. 1225, something like that.
1184. But prior to that, the previous value was 1166. So he's talking about moving another little 10% move or something like that. I don't think that's true either. I don't think he just took a very narrow perspective on the article. I think former glory is something much more strengthened in the international community. That's what I would. So anyway, that's my take.
And the CBI, this somebody else in there? I'll hold.
Nope, go ahead.
I would have to say that I would agree with that as well. That statement wouldn't mean that they're going to go back to some nominal rate change. I would think that what they had in their mind's eye when that quote was taken was that it was going to be a higher rate, a true increase in purchasing power in some way. So that's just my take on it. So
I would agree with that. And I think here's the deal. Any reasonable person looking at that article, that's exactly what you would infer. For people to be all, yeah. Go ahead.
Especially when you look at all the news out there about what the world is saying, about the World Bank coming out and saying that Iraq is one of the richest countries in the world, and you have them on the number 9th of the most natural resources in the world, richest resources. You have all this value, all this potential sitting there, and the world has recognized that and has been stating that time and time again. So it seems like the world is primed for some kind of move, some kind of realization that I don't think that this guy necessarily was privy to.
Or if your personal, for instance, we have those kind of guys running around our community. If your personal opinion is that there isn't going to be an RV, then you're going to look at everything you look at through that prism or through that stilt or slant.
Very true.
That's just how people look, whatever your nationality is. So my point is people need to just relax, take a breath, quit thinking everything. Quit thinking we've dug up one bad thing. We haven't. We're very appreciative of every perspective, so we can look at this from all kinds of different angles. It was a great piece of information.
There's something else. I was thinking about this earlier today, BGG, is how we are so easily pulled into this idea that when the articles or the economists are speaking about the buy-sell value, that buy-sell value that's on the CBI website is solely there from an agreement between the CBI and the GOI. That is where they exchange IQD and petrodollars. For some reason, we look at that and go, that has got to be reflective of what the true value or the international exchange rate is going to be. That when that's not so. That is totally relevant only to the day-to-day movement of currency on the street. And that is just a special situation. To think that the CBI is going to put the true value of its currency out there at 1/1000th of what a dollar is crazy. It's apples and oranges. What they continue to haggle back and forth about the dollar going up or the IQD going down, and people are paying $1,250 IQD for $1 on the street has absolutely nothing, zero to do with when the CBI tells its banks to start settling all foreign remittances and credits in the IQD. And at that time, the CBI is going to tell the world, this is the value we are going to settle at. And I'm not one, I think it's absolutely ludicrous to think that the CBI is going to say to the world, would you please come determine what our value or our exchange rate is by whatever, osmosis or, whatever you're going to do? Of course they're not going to do that. They only have so much IQD in the solar system, and they are going to leverage it the best they can to whatever point that they can support. And that is how they're going to give purchasing power to the citizens. And
well, stop and think about this. You've hit on a number of very interesting points. Number one, the CBI is selling, the government is buying. Number two, I think probably the international community is a little sick and tired of the government of Iraq buying their own currency so cheap, because they essentially are getting paid in petrodollars and paid handsomely. Then they turn around and buy their currency cheap to do whatever projects within the country that they need to do. And I'm sure there's a certain amount of
very good, very good.
Where the IMF and the United Nations, the World Bank's like, hey, quit monkeying around with your currency and get right. It's worth $1. And really, the CBI and the government of Iraq have all pretty much telegraphed what it's going to be. I mean, there's been some pretty huge tells, along the line as to what they kind of have been thinking. Now, does that mean that's what's going to happen? No. And I wouldn't take any one guy's overly pessimistic translation, as gospel. I just would not. I mean, no, I personally think I really appreciate Holly bringing everything she does, because she brings in a ton of great stuff. And number two, just because something doesn't perfectly jive with everything that we've heard doesn't mean we're not willing to chew on it a little bit, but doesn't mean I'm going to jump off the bridge over it either. Especially when there's so much, so many tells, so much conversation amongst players that matter, which is Ministry of Planning, Central Bank of Iraq, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, the main guy who will sign whatever it is, whatever that value is. And there's a ton of conversation out there as to what they're thinking about value. And 1,200 to 1 isn't it? That's not the number.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't do anything as far as, they said that they're going to remove the notes, the big notes, the 3-0, the beginning of the program, beginning in early 2017. I think we're right in that window.
They made a forecast, the 11th or 12th of November. And what I mean by a forecast is when the CBI said, we anticipate the 50, 100, and 200 notes, IQD notes, to be in the marketplace in the first quarter of 2017. That was a forecast. They didn't give a date, but they were saying, we believe certain market conditions are going to change. Well, 1201, that 50 note still has an equivalent value of 4.5 cents.
Right.
And that's why they took it out originally.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and nothing's really changed in that either. In that original statement that Alak had put out about that timing, and it actually goes back to back in March 3 of 2015 when they actually when he actually gave the green light. And how long did he say it was going to take for this to happen? He says we need 2 years to complete. So that basically when it starts, it will take 2 years. But at that point, that was another one of those forecasts, and those are going to be bearing on many different variables within the marketplace. And that's why I think that one article that came out where earlier this month that said about that we haven't set a date for the deletion of the zeros. I think that's a true statement, and the fact that will happen, that part of the project will actually start where they're bringing in the notes when the timing's right and not until then. And it's not.
Let me do just a little clarification on that, please. Okay. When he said that no, we do not have a date for the deletion of the zeros from the currency.
Yes.
He didn't say anything about the project. The project is made up of.
I'm actually talking about the physical note side of the project of the deletion of the zeros.
And why? Why would he not? Why could he not today say, this is a date that we're going to you'll start seeing those large notes disappear? The reason he can't say that is because, as he mentioned, the market conditions. And what are the market conditions that predicate or determine the size of the notes? It's the cost of the goods in the marketplace throughout all of Iraq. And until those prices come down, a lot can't say when those things are going to disappear. Besides, he's already told everybody those things are going to be tradable for 10 years. So
precisely.
So the market conditions will only change when the value of the currency that's bringing those goods into the country increase in value dramatically. Oh, by the way, that's the only reason why they would need the 50s, 100s, and 200s that they forecast back in November. And 1,200 to 1 ain't going to do it. 1,200 to 1, everything stays exactly the way it is.
Yeah, and I mean, they already have a liquidity problem, so there's no way they're going to be able to take off any 3-0 notes because that will just starve their economy for needed liquidity that they already have. So there's no way they're going to make that move. So that means one thing. That means that the purchasing power of the dinar, the logic behind that is that if you take a look at those three components, you take a look at the lower dinars, the actual 3-0 notes, and the purchasing power of dinar, of the Iraqi dinar, that the purchasing power of the Iraqi dinar, it's reasonable to expect that it would be available, it would be raised prior to the introduction of those other twos, simply because that will actually help them to keep the liquidity flowing in that economy when it happens. So to the external world, the purchasing price will raise prior to it. When goods come in that have been bought with that increased price, the citizens will see those lower prices. Correct me if I'm going astray here, but at that point, that is actually when they can start thinking about really introducing the lower dinars and actually physically removing the 3-0 notes from the Iraqi economy. Until then, if not, they won't have the liquidity to do anything. So they'll crash their economy.
The introduction of those lower dinars is not somebody standing on the front steps of the CBI handing out 50s, 100s, 200s, or 20s, or 1s, or whatever. The introduction is that they're at the banks. So when those people normally go to the store, and in the past they pulled out 25Ks and 50Ks to make their purchases, and the merchant says, I can't take those. The prices are less now. I can't make change for those large notes. That person then goes to the bank and says, I need smaller bills. And that's how it will start percolating down through the economy until finally you don't go to McDonald's with hundreds and buy a cup of coffee. You go to McDonald's with hopefully something less, And that's going to be a similar type of situation eventually in Iraq once the value of the currency changes dramatically. And
yeah, that takes time.
Float doesn't go. Yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
So that will take time for that process to even happen. I mean, once it's realized outside, those goods coming in, it takes time for those to come in, percolate into the marketplace. So I mean, and that's why they've always said it's going to take, what the conservative estimates was 2 years, and then Alok's latest estimate was that the 3-0 notes will be around for 10 years. So I mean, they realize that that part of it is going to take time to work itself out of the marketplace. But ultimately, it's I mean, if you just take a look at the preponderance of all the positive news that has happened since even like September, I mean, it does make you. It's kind of like what I brought up in the that's posted on the blog right now. Is that what other people are saying, what the actions are saying, what world bodies are saying, they constantly are coming up with the same kind of dialogue about this. That it's Iraq is bigger than what they are. It's kind of what the message they're sending to the world. And I mean, and you take a look at their actions with the IBAN, with the divider, the national divider coming out. You have the all the stuff that Rafidian's doing. You have all the stuff that you have with the IMF said what the first review that they're satisfied. I mean, you take a look at all this, and it doesn't really belay a lack of confidence in the actions of what they're doing. At least not to my mind's eye. That's why when I say that I wake up every morning and I'm smiling, it's true, and it's true because of the actions of Iraq and what the rest of the world is saying about Iraq. I mean, you don't have the ambassadors making formal introductions to the banking concerns or to the governor of the CBI for the banking concerns of your country. You just, without there being some serious forethought to that. There's a readiness. Those they've been thinking about making these moves for quite some time, and it seems like some kind of event is on this horizon. And I mean, that is just from the preponderance of the evidence of the articles and the news that I looked through. And I really do encourage everyone to make a list of these articles. I mean, I in the room. This is not a criticism. I'm not telling you that you're less for doing this or not. But I see this in the room a lot that people will get one article and they'll just spin way down on it. And it's just one article in a mountain of other evidence that's very positive. So you got to put it in that context. And if you actually make a list of how many things have happened and how that cadence, how rapidly it seems to be increasing now, it's pretty amazing. I mean, the United States lends them money, starts negotiating in December for lending them money for $1 billion. They sign off on it on the 19th. They finalize it, and 3 days later, they're issuing the bonds, the Euro bonds. That's incredible. I mean, that is so fast. That's mind-boggling fast. And they're doing this. They seem to be doing this all over the place. The actions of that banking and that financial reform seems to be picking up cadence, and it seems to be happening all over the place. So, and then I'm also with BGG that it does by that one statement that in the article that you brought in, Mr. White, it would appear that Mosul does have some kind of an element in that, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens when the west side starts really coming, when the west coast really starts falling into place. So.
So what do you think, Bobby? What do you think, Mr. Bobby?
I think all that information is golden, and I appreciate listening to all you gentlemen. And as far as what to look for, in my opinion, aside from what they're talking about, the market value and stuff like that, is the stability factor. When you talk about Mosul, I'm with you 100% on that. I think prior to Mosul, everybody was talking about the ministers not being able to be seated until Mosul was taken care of. We've seen that there's stability enough that they've already seated 2 ministers this week, one more to go, and you have your sovereign 5. The Kurds are going to present the finance minister in a few days, they say. We'll see. So as far as Iraq wanting stability, political, social, economic, stuff like that, we're seeing it. We saw the United Nations is now getting involved as far as propping the economic reforms that are taking place. They came out with an article a couple of days ago that, along with UNAMI, that they're going to bolster the economic reform sector, adding more income to the Iraqi citizen, and national asset management, and everything like that. So, we're looking at 3 or 4 different fronts here. We have to get stuff set up in country to take care or to nurse this revalue of the currency. They're still laying the foundation for it, although it's coming up very fast. And like I said, if we look at Mosul separately from everything they're doing outside of Mosul, it's preparing everything for that. So, I'm kind of sitting here, my brain's just going 100 miles an hour because everything is going on so fast for us. From a body meeting with the foreign companies to want them to feel secure within country, that's going to be the big thing. You have to bring in foreign investment and foreign companies into this country to boost the private, industrial, and ag sectors and stuff like that. And, he made a statement today that, they need to get over these glitches that they're having and inviting these foreign companies into Iraq. When we talk about liquidity and stuff like that and how are they going to support this, well, that's how they're going to support it. Oil is king over there, but oil will only carry you so far. They're just still going to have to bring up the private, industrial, and ag sectors, and they're doing a great job of it. So I guess in a nutshell, this is lining up very nicely, and I'm looking forward to the next days, weeks, or
period
whatever.
Of time, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Loop, if you're out there, what do you got a different article? You got something you'd like to talk about? Something you find interesting or piques your interest, or in particular, or if not, global concept? What do you like?
Mine was kind of a global concept more than anything else. What I've been doing lately is I've been really thinking about this as a whole, everything that has happened, and that continues to be my, what I'm looking at right now. The pace at kind of step, I guess, taking a higher level view and just taking a look at the preponderance of all the different facets and all the different things that they're currently working on, and the pieces that they're doing to get everything together to make it work for them. And you have Saleh came out with a very interesting piece about the necessity of economic forecasting, about taking a look at what the numbers are now, and then projecting in the future and really trying to do those forecasts. The other thing I think that was been very interesting was that media economic news. The economic forum with the media. And essentially with them saying, listen, with the media, don't just be throwing out anything out there, because most of the time you're wrong. Let's work together. We'll educate you on the economy, and let's really put together a good economic product to the people, so the people will understand what is really going on. And that's phenomenal.
You bring up an interesting point, and what I would like to interject there is if you're looking at that global concept, all the things that they are doing right now, currency reform and economic reform, we think that's the end-all, the be-all, end-all. It's the cataclysmic event. It's the thing, and it's going to be like that for us, absolutely. But that is a tiny, tiny piece of the pie they are working on. And somewhere in there that will occur. But not because they just want more value. It's because it's a much smaller piece of a very big pie.
Correct.
Kind of tagging along on your comment there is, they have some very serious things that they plan on getting done, and they probably will not get them done at 1,200 to 1.
They can't. They don't have enough money to do it. They'll continue to have liquidity problems. They'll just keep on sloughing along until they can raise the purchasing power externally and internally. As soon as they realize that, I think everything's going to be hitting, firing fine for them.
Hey, Luke.
Yes.
Hey, I'm going to throw this out there for you. When people are talking this 1,200 to 1 numbers and stuff like that, aren't they talking the street rate value? I know that's come up a lot lately, and people are not. Actually, I think Mr. White brought it up. There are two different factors there. There's a street rate value, and there's a CBI value. I think when people see these numbers, and when people see these numbers, they go off in different directions, and we're having a hard time. I know sometimes on Facebook we have a hard time with this street rate value that comes out almost every day, whether it be, from the 1,270 number to the 1,300 number.
Well, think of it as a commission. It's for a trader, right? It's kind of goes back to that. It's similar to going to any kind of exchange company here. They're going to charge a premium, so it's nothing more than that. I don't think that that's indicative of anything at all, other than what they're currently soaking the populace for. What the vendors are soaking the populace for on the streets. I don't think that it has any bearing on what really the focus. If you get caught in those little actions, I tend to pull back. I'm looking more at CBI, Finance Ministry, World Bank, IMF, Abadi. I'm trying to look at the bigger players,
right.
And then I'm also listening what other people are saying, because from that there's a totally different picture than what you hear. You still have ministers, throwing shoes at one another. And what today, Alawi was sitting there saying that that they don't like the new minister, the new interior minister or defense minister, right? Well, they walked out. They weren't even there. There was only 201 members of parliament there. They weren't there. If they wanted to have a say-so, they should have been there. And that's the kind of thing, people see those articles and they go, oh no, they go careening off in one direction on it. And you kind of have to understand that those smaller players really, why they can affect things if they yell enough. I'm not looking nearly as hard at them as I'm looking at the news that seems to be more in line with what the actions that they're doing with financial reform, banking reform, security stability, right? The pontoon bridge is going
across. That's the big picture kind of a thing.
Yeah. You take a look at the pontoon bridges going across the Tigris, right? Did you read the article? There was one really long article I brought. It was very incredible. They have 26 buses that what they're going to do is they're going to make a secure corridor with the Army going into the west side so that they can evacuate citizens out of the west side prior to commencing their engagement of the battle. So they're going to try to get as many citizens out across this pontoon bridge and onto the east side prior to that. I mean, that's huge to me. That speaks volumes as to the care they're taking for their citizens. And this is something that is really big. On the stability side, I know some people go careening around on that a lot. And to me, I think you really have to realize that the rest of the world is not even close to being as stable as the United States. And it's sometimes hard from our perspective to see stuff and thinking it as being stable. But there's many places throughout the world where there is killings, kidnappings, bombings daily. And it's just a matter of course. It's just what they do. So I don't think that they're going to have a perfectly stable environment prior to any big event happening.
So one such place is Chicago.
Correct.
Very good point.
Hey guys, why don't we take it go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, another form of stability is these camps. I just seen today that the Mansour Scout Camp in Ghazalia is going to be closed tomorrow. So they're moving their displaced people back, and I also seen about the people of the cliff. They're moving in after 2 years. So there's people are moving back. So that's a sign of stability that you're seeing there.
Yeah.
And people back in the eastern side of Missoula, they're moving back in. So yeah, they're moving really fast ahead with things.
Thank you.
Hey, BGG.
Appreciate it. Yes, go ahead.
Let me just touch on something real quick, please. Of course, nothing's ever quick with me, but we constantly get bombarded with this belief that in order for Iraq to add value to their currency or to float it, they need an open market economy. And I just want to bring something out to you. There's a ranking of economic freedom of 178 countries on this website, and a gentleman sent that to me today, and I want to really thank him. I think it's RC. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with you, but if I'm supposed to be, I apologize. But the United Kingdom is ranked actually number 10 out of 178. USA is ranked number 11. Well, Bahrain is ranked number 18, and the rankings are based on a variety of different factors. Legislation, the freedom of investment, how much the government spends, stability, and on and on and on. But I'm going to hit on some countries. They're in the neighborhood with Iraq. Bahrain's at number 18, and their value of their currency is $2.65. The UAE is only at number 25, 7 places above it, but their value is at 27 cents. Qatar at 34, they're at 27 cents. Israel at 35, and it's at 26. Then you jump up to Jordan. Jordan is at $1.41. Well, get this now. Coming in at number 52 on the Big Hits Parade is Oman at $2.59. They're number 52, and they have $2.59. Kuwait is at 74. They're at $3.30. And way down the list at 78 is Saudi Arabia at 27 cents. So, when you hear from certain sites or certain gurus, they must have open market economy and they've got to have all these investors and everything. Let me ask you something. Kuwait, what is that, about the size of Rhode Island, maybe? Do you think that the value of their currency based on the assets of their country is worth 3.5 times that of the United States? Huh? No way. Oman, $2.59. Well, we know Iraq, even with their troubles, their economy is so robust that they're much bigger than Kuwait, much bigger than Oman. pretty much everybody else other than, maybe Saudi Arabia and just money. So what I'm getting at is Iraq is prime to introduce to the world their true value with their current economy. It doesn't have to be, based on these other countries, it doesn't have to be any more than what it is right now. They're going to do this when they're ready, and I believe they're ready. I hope that some of that made sense. But back to you, BGG.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to open up the lines for Q&A. If you're on here, you can hear me. You want to ask a question to anyone here, hit *6 on your keypad, and it'll put you in queue, and we will do you guys mind if we use the last few minutes for a Q&A?
Go ahead.
Anybody? Yeah?
Okay, that's cool.
You better hurry. You're going to be the first one on. We got the first one on. Anybody else, hit *6. You're going to get right in here, and we will get to answer your questions live. First one is from the 702 area code. Thanks for calling. You are live. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, thank you, BGG, and I'm really grateful for all you guys. I listen to your calls every week. I'll be real quick. Why is Alak still there? Maliki appointed him, and in my opinion, he's still an obstructionist hiding his true feelings. And I'll shut up now, and you can mute me out and answer that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you so much, caller. Wonderful to have you.
Johnny D, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I did mute him out. My personal, and I'm gonna answer this one personally, but then I'm gonna open up, let the other guys have a say. I think that Alak has probably seen what's on the menu, and he wants no part of it. And he's obviously there because someone has some level of comfort with him. I don't know that I would. I mean, he's very plainly said that they intend to do some things. I do not know that I would. I don't know that I would guarantee that he's some kind of an obstructionist and is holding this thing off intentionally. I cannot hardly get to that place. I've had some very harsh words for him. I don't think that they were unfounded. I think it's. But I will say the lay of the political land right now appears to me that he realizes where he's at, and he realizes what a golden opportunity it is, and he probably ought to do the right thing as often as possible. So that's my take on it right now. Doesn't necessarily mean that's true. I may do something different in the future, but for right now, that's the way it looks to me. And understanding Iraqi political culture, by the way, these guys switch sides all the time. You know, some of your oldest political families survive because they have an inherent ability to see what's going on. They see it before it happens. They have political alliances behind the scenes, and they move from side to side just very, very easily. And that's that right there. If anybody knows anything about what goes on in the country, that's true. So what do you all think? What's the roundtable think of that?
I think you're 100% right. I think that maybe he was in Maliki's camp at one point, and I think what happened is he saw which way the wind was blowing, and he decided to go the way that's least resistant. He decided to survive.
He has the look of a true political survivor in the Iraqi regime.
Yeah, so I think what's happened is that he got put in place, and he's playing ball. And is he the best person for that job? I don't think he is, but I also think that it would probably derail their plans of implementing this if they were to remove him and put someone else in play to get them up in speed and everything. So I think that he's there at least until this thing starts moving through. I don't think that he's nearly. I don't think of him as an obstructionist at all. I think that he is he's a politician, and he's surviving. And I think that if he would have gone against Maliki would kill people. You know, Maliki had people killed all the time. So, here's a facet that we haven't really looked at, and that was that Alak was the council of ministers, the previous council minister's secretary. So he was a very high up official,
in the Baghdadi regime, and then number two, or in the Baghdadi hierarchy, Shias, government officials, very, very high up. Number two only to Maliki, and at that time, Abadi had worked with him very closely. I think was Abadi not on that council of ministers somewhere? Somebody can correct me. Yes, no.
Well, wasn't he the finance minister?
Finance.
He was. Yeah, he was on. He worked very, very closely with that community of officials. So he would have some sense of. He's worked with Alak before. This is not his first time working with the guy. Apparently, Alak has gotten comfortable with backing his new boss instead of Maliki. So, because they're both from the same side of the fence, and they have worked this area of government together in the past. It's not their first time together. So, there could be a much different dynamic in play here than we realize, and there could be a much different dynamic than Maliki had. Obviously, than Maliki had forecast, because I'm sure he had some other plan in place when that first unfolded.
Well, there's another way to look at it.
Go on, Mr. Wong. I also don't think that he has the I lost my train of thought. Go on, Mr. White.
Okay. First thing is the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq doesn't work in a vacuum. He works for a board of directors. So he takes his orders from a few other folks. The other thing is, if we all believe that this is so far down the road that Iraq, the Central Bank of Iraq, the government of Iraq, is trying to sell the world on a new Iraq, and we keep talking about stability. You know what? Stability isn't just physical stability, but the banking industry, the finance community likes stability. They don't like surprises. And here, right at this crucial time, we're going to change the head of the central bank because of whatever. That's not sending a real good message. I think, as BGG pointed out, Ismail Alak has seen the writing on the wall, and he knows what he better be doing. And it appears that is what he is doing, because the IMF seems to be pretty daggum happy. The World Bank seems to be pretty daggum happy. And hopefully we'll all be very happy shortly.
4 very good points, one right after another.
Yeah.
Next caller. Let's take another caller. Let's try to get a couple of calls in here. We've got just 4 or 5 minutes. Let's see if we can get a couple more callers in. Next caller, 202 area code. Thanks for calling. You are live. Go ahead, caller.
Well, hello there. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, I've been listening to other calls, and they were talking about that you could go when it's time to RV, that you go to the place and negotiate different rates for humanitarian projects. Is that true?
That's not true. You need to get on the Deuce list, Dinar Updates Currency Exchange list. We'll email you when there's a rate, and we're going to email you all the information about how to exchange your currency. It's not going to be anything like some of these other calls they're talking about. If I were you, I'd quit listening to them. It's a bad idea. They're leading you down the wrong path. Go ahead, guys.
Somebody go up to $15 on that, on all.
Not in a million years. Not going to happen. They're just blowing
That makes no sense to me if I want to talk to somebody else.
Well,
thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you so much. You have a great night. Next caller, 510 area code. 510 area code. Thanks for calling. You are live. Go ahead,
Hi, I'd like to know what impact the new United States administration will have on the RV, positive or negative, and why.
Nothing. Zero. Nothing.
Yeah. I would have I tend to agree with Mr. White. I've answered this question so many times on email privately. Everybody's all freaked out by the new administration. What are they going to do? How's it going to affect us? It's not. It's just at least not at this stage. I don't see any direct impact. I think there are some peripheral issues, the political issues they're going to work out, but I don't think it has anything to do with this. In fact,
BGG, let me just throw this in here real quick. Do you think Iraq is going to consider the immigration policy of South Korea before they change the value of their currency, or the immigration policy of India, or Russia, or France?
As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, I read an article where, and that was the one thing somebody was like, oh, then, Trump did this ban, blah, 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 it's going to wreck everything. It's not. Quit worrying about it. It doesn't have nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, that Parliament did some retarded things in the last 48 hours, but a body, Parliament can vote on anything they want, but a body doesn't have to do any of it. And what he said was, we need to just approach this with caution. It's a good step for them. We do have a bunch of terrorists running around this country, and we ought to just, not respond in kind. The body's trying to put that fire out, and he's dealing with some real live idiots in Parliament. So I don't think the people we need to worry about are not on this side of the water. They're over there.
Great. All right. Thank you.
No problem. That was actually a very good question. I appreciate the question. Have a great night. Okay, next caller, 352 area code. 352 area code. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Yes, good evening. This is Dan, and I want to thank everybody for their input tonight. I have a question I'd like to pass to Mr. White. And first of all, I want to say to Mr. White that thank you for bringing stability to the group and to the call tonight. Excellent input. My question is this, Mr. White, with all of the, and it ties into the last article that you just brought in, talked about the different countries in comparison to Iraq, and with the potential that Iraq has in their economy, their resources, future growth, anticipation of foreign investment, et cetera, would it be unrealistic then to anticipate that eventually, over time, that the Iraqi dinar could reach up in the value of the Kuwaiti dinar, in that range? I'm talking about over time, just like your feedback on that.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for your very kind words. In my opinion, or maybe I shouldn't say in my opinion, in the opinion of the Iraqis, yes, that is what they speak about. That is what they want. Days immediately following the lifting of the sanctions back in 2013, was it? June 23rd, 27th, 6th in my mind. All that was coming out was that the Iraqi dinar was going to return to its greatness, to being powerful, being the reserve of the world, and returning to that of the 70s and 80s. Well, go check the facts, the history. I'm not saying to do that, but anybody can do that and see that's exactly the area that they're talking about, the value. So, yes, I think so, because that's what they tell us. Is that going to happen immediately? We don't know. We don't know exactly how it's going to manifest itself. But I think when it happens, we're going to be all very pleased. Are we still going to be holding it, waiting around for that ultimate price? I don't know. I don't know how quick it'll get there. But they think it's going to get there, and I hope that answers your question.
Appreciate that. We have one more caller before we get off for the night, and I wanted to make sure we held on long enough to get this caller in, and then we'll close it up for the night. Last caller for the night, 920 area code, 920 area code. Thanks for calling, and you are live.
Yeah, this is Sam from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Sam. Well, now I held on for you, and we're way over time. I know we've missed you a couple of times, and I've seen you there, and I saw you this time. I want to get you in here.
Yeah, I wanted to just give a kudos out to our cookie. Man, that was a real godsend to, I don't know how he connected with you or how you ended up working together, but just an incredible asset you had there.
He was a gift to the community, and he had been on our website for several years. I mean, he only was very vocal on this thing for the last, maybe year. And he and I had done some calls before that, off and on, just here and there. Always very well, obviously that's why he wound up, a lot more an integral part of what we were doing towards the end, because he was, when people just enjoyed the heck out of him early on. Mm. So, yeah, thank you for that. And that's absolutely the way it was. He was a gift to the community. So
absolutely. And just if I don't know if I have a correct synopsis of what his thinking was, but because I mean he could connect the dots. Like I was having a hard time just keeping up with the guy. So he could connect the dots, and so it all sounds like it's coming together with this 2017 budget. Did I understand that right?
Very.
The budget and Robert's thing was always just very similar to what Luke's global perspective is Robert was always very excited about this forward velocity of the overall economic reform, all the various pieces of it, and he was very detail oriented in pointing out each and every piece. But all of those things coming together, for forward progress and international realization for Iraq, he was very excited about that prospect in the near future. I really won't go into it more than that, but I will say that was his global view. So, no, you were not misunderstanding what he was saying. You pretty much had it.
Okay, so we're just holding tight here till we see whatever we're going to see.
Well, it's we're holding tight, but they're moving fast. So that's part of why we're doing the call right now. Just point out some things that were said recently, and it all seems to be building toward the crescendo. Sam, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Great conversation. We'll try and get you in next time too. Everybody that was on here, all the people that helped tonight, all the people that are on the call, thank you so much, guys. You guys were spectacular. It was a good call. We're going to end it now. Stay tuned to Dinar Updates, the forum, the chat room, the blog, the Observer, for more Dinar news, Dinar info, and Dinar commentary. We'll keep bringing that stuff to you as we're able. Make sure you're on the deuce list. We're going to be working hard on that in the near future because we're going to need it. So figure that one out, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great night.